Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's a 2019 Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro. So it's the Apex TRD trim level of the Toyota 4Runner. This one specifically is 5 years old. It has just under 60,000 miles, and today we're gonna do a review of it to show you guys how well has it held up, or how well has it maybe not held up. These are known for being a mid-sized SUV, body on frame, decent on-road, pretty capable off-road. It has a rear locker, it has about 10 inches of ground clearance, and a lot of goodies that we're going to investigate and see how well it's held up. This one specifically started life 5 years ago when it was assembled in Japan. It cost around $50,000, which in today's world with inflation is basically what the 2024s are going for in the mid-upper 50s, but it's currently being sold for about $38,000. So I'll link the dealership below if you're interested. They're really good to work with. They ship all over the country, but you can find that in the description if you're interested. Otherwise, expect to see a walk around of the exterior, going through the depths of the interior, doing a drive, doing a 0 to 60 on GPS. There is an interesting surprise with this one that you're going to see pretty soon. And then my final thoughts to help you guys at home decide and decipher, do these actually hold up? Do they hold up as well as people think? Why do they keep such good resale value? Why after 5 years has this one only lost about $12,000 of its brand new price, not counting inflation? We're about to find out. And if you like anything that you hear, learn, listen, or see today, like this video, it's free. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Do you guys own one of these? Are you interested in one of these? I actually used to own a supercharged 4-liter 5-speed automatic FJ Cruiser. Other Toyota trucks. So I have a lot of seat time in Toyota trucks, and I'm excited to bring this one to you. So let's get right into it. So while the Toyota 4Runner is definitely not for everyone, there is a huge following for these vehicles. They sell over 100,000 units every single year in North America alone. They're really popular, they're really dependable, they're known for a lot of things, but they're also known for some downfalls. They don't have the best safety ratings, they don't have the best economy, or the best on-road manners compared to the other modern body-on-frame trucks. But what does it have? It has a bold front fascia, a fake hood scoop, which even though it's fake, it looks really good in person. It has the heritage grille when you go TRD Pro. It has some LED projector headlights. You can tell by the color of the bulb that that is not a very bright LED by today's standards, but it does have LED fog lights, which unfortunately don't match the headlights. Anyways, it still looks really good. It has an aggressive front fascia. It has the TRD skid plate, which that one thankfully is actually aluminum, unlike some other skid plates you'll find on other vehicles. It has the TRD wheels, which are probably everyone's favorite wheel. At least it's my favorite wheel. But you know what the previous owner did to this one? They kind of neutered it. They put a highway terrain tire on it. Yeah, these are only rated for about 16 city, about 19 highway. But seriously, a highway terrain tire on your TRD Pro Toyota 4Runner? What were you thinking? Obviously, this is the wrong vehicle, hence why it's for sale. But you will notice after I had it washed this morning, it does have a clear bra. That looks to be really well intact. The headlight housings, which are made out of glass, those also look really good. There's really not any rock chips or indentation or damage on the heritage grille. Everything up front basically looks really bone stock to me. And I'm not really seeing any chip painting, no bugs that are, needing to be clay barred out of there. It actually looks really good on the front end of this. The shadow side of the 4Runner, although it's black, it still looks really good. There's not any crazy, scratching marks like this one was off-roaded. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this one has never been off-roaded, especially if you're putting highway trained tires on it. You might notice a little bit of fluid coming down from the AC, or if there's anything that got kicked up in the back from the little bit of driving I've done in it so far, or getting it through the car wash. But so far, this actually looks really good. There is some surface rust on the hitch receiver right there. Probably nothing structural yet, but you might want to grind that off and repaint it. And you'll notice that some of the paint has chipped away. So it's basically starting to where the rest of this could chip away. You could probably easily touch that up though, or eventually take it off, sand it off, do the whole thing all over again. But overall, the exterior of this one, for being a black metallic color, actually looks really good and a lot better than I was expecting before I washed it off, because usually black colors don't look very good. They show a lot of swirls, they show all the dirt, and although I don't know that the black plastic has aged very well, on the front of the fake hood scoop, and it looks like there's probably some water buildup and some little bits of sediments in there. Overall, I'd say it looks pretty good. The weather stripping around the windshield and some of the black plastic there also doesn't look like it's aged very well. I'm sure you could refresh that with some lotions and things of that nature. Same with the A-pillar plastic. So I would imagine that would have looked better when this was brand new, but honestly, overall, I think it looks pretty good. So let's start to look at the frame. Let's see if this one has any frame rust or damage or any concerns underneath this tiny little mud flap. Actually, the frame overall looks really dry, looks really good. There's tiny bits of surface rust kind of at some of the weld points. You can see the transmission, the drive shaft, the exhaust is obviously rusty like most exhausts are after 5 years. But overall, I think that actually looks pretty good. So with that said, why don't we hop inside and see what else it has to offer. And it's worth mentioning that the black door panel materials and the red TRD stitching basically look brand new in my opinion. The armrest is still comfortable. It doesn't feel dried out and unpleasant. You even have a pencil holder up here, which it's not really rubberized grip unless that dried out. But honestly, this door panel is pretty nice. And check out this Japanese assembled Toyota door slam. We're obviously not going to slam it like a whistling diesel test to where you shatter the windows, but that feels solid. That really feels good, and in fact the whole vehicle moves around a little bit because it latches so well. But otherwise, this is the heated, powered seat with some lumbar support. TRD stamped in, and even after 58,000 miles, you know, there's really not a lot of aging. The plastic down here on the seat really hasn't cracked like the modern Tundras. The all-weather mats in this, though, are kind of pathetic. Look how small they are. You could definitely get a way better version, and I think just from the heat, it's kind of flapped up and deformed a little bit. But rubberized pedals, old school kicky brake, hood release, blank button, some options. It has the 12 volt in the back, lighting stock, ventilation. You know, this feels pretty good. Power moonroof up top, and it's not super high, so at 5'11", I think it's pretty easy to step up into the 4Runner. It's probably about the same height or a little bit shorter than my supercharged FJ Cruiser was. But the AC, it's not blowing like freezing, and that was obviously when I had the door closed earlier. But it's keeping me cool. Hopefully the back seats are also cool, but we'll find that out soon. But overall, the horn, loud. Very loud horn in person. And then you have all your controls on the left, adaptive cruise down here. Or actually, this might not have adaptive cruise on this specific one. You guys comment below if you know what these have. But overall, the materials, the dashboard, everything has held up really well. Even the roof liner looks clean, because sometimes, oh, we have a dirty spot right there. But sometimes beige, you know, if you have kids in the back seat, you're gonna notice some dirty stuff up there. But overall, this one seriously is really cool. The speakers are not fantastic. You do get some wind and road noise when you're driving it because of the old school design. The highway train tires definitely help. But I love the center console. I love the storage cubbies. So even though this isn't super deep, I just love this vertical layout. I love how these are. The backup camera, not too bad. It goes right through gear. I'll even show you going into 4-wheel drive and what this does on gravel right here. I'm currently in 4-wheel drive, which does a really good job. I'm on some gravel right now, so if I try to give it a little bit of throttle and drive, it launches just fine. And going back into 2-wheel drive, it's a smooth transition. It shifts pretty quick. No grinding or any noises that you don't want to hear. But overall, everything else just works really well. Look at all that light coming in. I'm sure your pups are gonna love that, and any other reason to have some fresh air. You have your heated seat buttons, your fake carbon fiber, and a really nice, huge center console with the CD tray right there. That's how center consoles honestly should be done. So let's make sure we're in park. We're gonna leave it on running because I don't think you guys can hear much of the AC blowing on camera with the noise mitigation stuff. But overall, back door panel. Has anyone even sat back here? Yeah, everything works. Look how dark that tint is though. That might be beyond factory. You do have a split window design, kind of interesting, but otherwise everything looks really nice back here. And then you have the seats, which, let's see, these should tumble forward. Yep, that's a big bolstered seat. I do wish they were maybe a little bit thinner, maybe a little bit higher up, if that design could work so that you could have some more storage under there. Just don't put any little things down there and then move the seats around because you might squish it. Otherwise, you have kind of a fishnet map pocket. And when you sit in here, which we should be able to recline this too, but look, if you don't fold the seat out of the way, this isn't going to come down very well. I strongly recommend you get some all-weather mats back here if you don't want to rip up kind of the dense carpet back there. But obviously it's held up well for probably mild use, whoever owned this. And then you can see that the seats over there are reclined a few degrees. Pretty cool. But at 5'11", seriously, look how clean these all-weather mats are. I don't think anyone has ever sat back here. Toyota on the center above the drive shaft. You have some plugins, not the modern USB-C style like the 2024s. But these vents actually feel pretty good. And you even have pretty good visibility. But unless you recline your seat or you keep your head further back, you're going to notice that bulge in the roof. Your head's fine back here if you're probably low 6 foot or shorter, but don't lean forward. You're not going to like that. And then you have an armrest with some falling out little rubbers right there. So pretty cool. I guess you could take those out if you need more room, but that's actually pretty solid, pretty stable. And honestly, guys, the more I move around this one, the more I want to buy it for myself. TRD Pro, you can see some more water buildup nonsense right there. But overall, it's looking pretty good. These do not have a power lift gate, which is fine by me. It doesn't open extremely high. You might want to replace those shocks, which you can easily pop the clips off and probably do that for yourself for 30 bucks or so, I'd imagine. You have a strap, you have some incandescent lighting, some speakers back here. You have the armrests in case you had a 3-row seat, 4Runner, and then probably nothing under here. Yeah, because the spare tire is underneath the vehicle. But some plugins, another speaker, JBL on this. You know, not too bad, honestly. And then you can grab the strap, or you can grab this and you can just toss it right down. So overall, I think this is a pretty nice place to be. Usually, the front passenger shotgun seat is the second most used seat in a vehicle statistically. And this one, again, I don't think anyone has been in this vehicle other than the driver. Pretty interesting. The bolstering looks brand new. Really no problems on this. So this is kind of like a time capsule example. You have the little button right there. You can lock it. Probably access to your cabin air filter in there. And, oh, nope, no 12 volt. That's unfortunate. Let's come around to the front and I'll pop the hood and we'll see how the 4-liter V6 looks with its dual overhead cam system. And my gosh, is a 4-liter engine huge. I think the 4-liter engine in my FJ is the biggest V6 that I have ever owned displacement-wise. Not the most powerful, but the biggest. But you have the air filter, just a little bit of baffling before the upper intake manifold and the throttle body. You do have the battery on the driver's side and a big fuse box right there. And then you have some reservoirs kind of scattered throughout. But you can really feel the heat coming off of the heads and the valve covers right there. The exhaust manifold, everything is overall pretty easy to identify. But a smaller engine like the 2.4 turbo and the 6th generation 4Runner, it'll definitely be easier to work on probably than this. But are you ever going to have to work on this? Especially when it's in this good a shape. And notice that Toyota put the rubber lining around the vehicle. So basically 50, 60,000 miles, and this one is pretty spotless under here. Not really any rust, not really any concerns that I see. It looks like a solid engine. It really looks well taken care of. Let's drop the hood and take it for a drive. Initial driving impressions of the 5-year-old TRD Pro 4Runner. First of all, let's get up to speed. Full throttle. 4-liter sounds good. The shifts are crisp, although they don't push you back in your seat because this doesn't have the power for that, but it does feel solid. It feels stable, and I honestly really missed that 4-liter scream. But visibility in the 4Runner, I mean, it's pretty good. It could be worse, but it could also be better. But it looks nice. You can see everything you need, and especially with the giant side windows, the side mirrors, you can see enough stuff down the side. And because it's only about 16 feet long, you can see right down the center display too. But keep in mind, because the rear glass is tinted pretty dark on this specific example, you're not seeing it as well. Otherwise, you guys already saw the interior. You know that this has been well cared for. Has a clear bra. All the materials in here look really nice, and in fact I really haven't found very many flaws with it. So after 60,000 miles, how does a 4-liter 5-speed automatic TRD Pro 4Runner feel? If I'm being honest, it doesn't feel any different than any other 4Runner that I've ever driven, and it feels very similar to the old supercharged FJ Cruiser that I used to have. Sure, it doesn't have the slight supercharger whine and the added acceleration, but it feels just as stable, just as reliable and durable as any of those other vehicles. It doesn't handle corners very well. I daily drive in outback wilderness, so that handles corners way better than this. This definitely feels like you're sitting up higher. It feels like you're also pretty high to the top of the vehicle, kind of sitting on top of the vehicle, not extreme. You can adjust your seat, of course, but it feels solid. Everything works how it should. I do wish the AC was a little bit colder, so maybe it's not as cold as it was when it was brand new. Maybe the refrigerant needs to be refreshed, but it does seem like this has held up really well. Obviously no accidents on this one, really no front damage, or the clear bra has done a good job to protect it. So I'm not sure what the previous owner was doing driving this one, and especially on highway trained tires, but it is sad that the payload capacity is less than an average Subaru. This can only hold 835 pounds. Sure, it has the TRD Pro suspension. Sure, it's going to be a little bit more capable off-road, but at the end of the day, the 4Runner is mostly an on-road vehicle that can do well off-road. It's not as good off-road as a Bronco or a Wrangler. That's an off-road vehicle that can go on-road, but this is meant for the road primarily. So the previous owner probably didn't like the miles per gallon, probably why they put highway trained tires and not another all-terrain tire set when they replaced it. Let's get up to speed a little bit on this unsealed gravelly road. Partial throttle. Man, I love this powertrain combo. Sure, it's not efficient. Sure, it's not that refined, but it just sounds nice. It's really cool to have a big displacement V6. It's just cool to be looking at the bulge on the hood of the 4Runner Pro. This is just a really cool vehicle. I do think it's held up well. If any of you guys want to buy it, remember, I'll link this one below if you're interested. But I have no concerns. After 5 years, I think this handles probably about as good as the day it came off the factory line. These were made in Japan. They feel solid, and this one is no exception. So if you do buy a used one, if you don't want to be one of the last people to buy a 5th gen from 2024, go find a clean one. They're out there. This is the top tier. In 5 years, it's lost about $12,000 or $13,000, which is not much compared to most vehicles of this price point. That would probably lose that in the first 2 years. So can I recommend it to you guys? Yeah. Do I personally actually want to buy this one? Yeah. I probably won't, because safety, not being the most safe vehicle, is my biggest drawback on these. They're only a 4-star crash test rated vehicle. They have their on-road manner flaws, but man, does this thing feel so awesome. It feels so solid as any of the new vehicles that I ever get the chance to drive. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, if you like anything that you've seen so far, don't forget to like this video, and let's wrap it up with my final thoughts. 0 to 60 in the TRD Pro. Keep in mind, density altitude is almost 6,000 feet above sea level, so this vehicle is down on power about 20%, or probably about 50 horsepower. Let's do a little bit of a brake rev and 2-wheel drive and see what it can do. Tiny wheel spin, not much. Sounds good. First gear went to almost 40. Top of second, hit 60 miles an hour, and the true 0 to 60 time was 9.26 seconds, so not exceptionally fast, or probably a high 8 if you discredit the first foot of rollout. So for what this is, in our elements, that's really not too bad, but it's not fast or quick by any stretch of the imagination. If I'm being honest, I don't think I've ever liked a black vehicle as much as I like this 4Runner. It really does feel like a time capsule example. Sure, it's not fast at, a 9 point something 0 to 60. Sure, it's not the safest vehicle on the road, but it still is decent. It still is almost a 5,000-pound Toyota truck, so you'd imagine that it's somewhat safe, safer than anything from the 90s anyways. It has my favorite TRD wheels, a rear locker, MTS, 8-track, all the things. It has a sliding rear window, for crying out loud. This is a really cool vehicle. Is it worth $38,000, or about $10,000 more than the average used vehicle? Probably. Is it worth about $10,000 less than the average new vehicle? Well, if this vehicle has 60,000 miles and its powertrain can go, 600,000 miles, then it has 90% of its life left. So yeah, I think it's probably worth that price point, even though I hate to admit it. I think a 5-year-old vehicle should be worth, less than half of what it was bought new. But it's just not the case with Toyota trucks. These are proven. This one is proven. The oldest years of this generation are 10 years older than this one. They've proved themselves. We can expect that this one's going to do a really good job too. And it looks nice. I like it a lot. I'll link it below if you're interested. But if you got anything out of this video, don't forget to like this video. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And tell me, guys, would you consider a 5-year-old TRD Pro 4Runner? Is that worth it to you? Or would you rather buy a brand new SR5 that has a brand new warranty? Because keep in mind, this one is out of powertrain warranty now. It's out of bumper to bumper. So if something happens, you are left on your own, but probably nothing would happen. But don't take my word for it. I'm just a random guy on the internet, and you should never trust random guys on the internet. So drive one for yourself, check one out for yourself. I wish you guys the best. Hope to see you again. Take care. See ya.